I'll come around here.
You just
Yep.
like, just be natural, just talk as if nothing is happening.
Yep. Righto, so we've pulled up right here, and that's the boundary fence, and so that's the neighbour's property there, and we're in a gully. So water is concentrating on his property, and then it comes down into this gully, and it comes through this fence just here, and it's going. Now, the way that this water would travel is straight down the gully, which is going to that where that bank is there, and then a little bit to the left and down, and it ends up meeting up with that other valley over there, and it stays right in the bottom of, it all just goes down the gully and then meanders out through the property. But what we've got these water spreading banks here. So this is coming in this valley, and then if we come over here, it drops into this water spreading bank, and right here, to stop the water continuing down the gully, we put the bank on the bottom side of the ditch. And so the water comes in, and then it goes in this ditch and fills this ditch up. Now this ditch runs around there on contour until it actually goes into another valley. So that water then is stopped going down on its merry way down the valley, and it's in this ditch and gets channeled out on the landscape. Oh, we just come down here a little bit and we'll start again. So we've just moved over here, so our water was heading down that way, but we've got it into this ditch here now, and we're stopping it heading down that way because the bank's on the bottom side of the ditch. We come along here a little bit further, and you can see just here we've changed from our bank being on the bottom side of the ditch to them being on the top side of the ditch. So then the water's heading down this ditch here all the way around, and it goes around there until the water fills the ditch up, and then it spills out evenly along the entire length of the ditch. So already the water that's in our ditch here was wanting to be down there. So we've got that. And what we're going to do now is we'll follow this ditch along and show you where we're taking the water that was heading down there and where we're going to put it out onto it, and how these water spreading banks work. Just pause it for a bit because we'll drive up there. The bit that's important here is just there is the bank is on the bottom side of the ditch, and this is the transition right here where now our bank's on the top side of the ditch. So we go up here a little bit further, and any water that's on this country that's moving down, it comes down and it's held up by the bank. And this is where we get our big rate of change, is on this side of this top bank. And if we have a dig around here right now, and when you walk on it, you can feel that it's soft. And it's got a lot more growth here than we've got just up there. So the water that's on the top side of this bank then gets held up, and then it moves along the top side of the bank, and every so often we have a hole in that bank to let that water into that ditch. So there's just an excavation being made up there with a front end loader where they just push the bank through and then pile it up on the inside. So it just stops the pressure of the water on the bottom bottom side.
If that's the case, then so you are artificially channeling the water along the top side of the bank. Why is there no erosion there?
It really slows the water down on the top side of this bank, because that's where when it's stopped, slowed down, and it has to move either left or right, there's a lot of time for infiltration there. And so that's where we're getting a high water infiltration, is when we stop that water and change its direction and hold it up on country. And then that's where we get our first rate of change because of extra hydration. And you can see just here that it's moving back. So in the early days it was only just over there, but it's moving back this way. So it sort of comes up to here. So this improved country, because of water holding capacity and water holding infiltration rate and plant growth, and then plants build soil. So our good country's moving back this way, and then that'll continue over time where it's good all over it. And if we have a look in the bottom side of the ditch, we end up with it's not so prevalent here, but we end up with a wetland in there. So things will change in the bottom of that ditch as well. So it really breaks our landscape up. So from going just to being once upon a time it was just a slopey piece of country, and then even the rate of change that's happened on top of this bank where I'm standing here now, we've got proliferation of these yellow flowers, and the banks are covering up, and then got the spear grass growing up here. Oh, look, there's some saffron thistles there, but they're all, in this case, saffron's growing on the bank is all acting as a windbreak. So everything's working, everything's moving. And when we look back at what this was sort of after 2016, when we planted the multi-species in here, and then we had all the pressure from the vermin coming, out of the neighbours and out of those hills, this was a desert. This was completely bare. It was bare, this whole paddock. And to where we are now, it's absolutely incredible. Like a lot of that now is ticking the box, 100% ground cover. The only way from there is up.
It's because it's actually on contour, it's not sloped away, isn't it? So you're capturing all this water, and it's just then, like you said, it's either seeping in or it wouldn't be flowing, would it?
Well, it will, but how
on contour though?
Yeah, if it builds up, and there's a gap up here. We'll just walk down there to that. See? This is the gap on the top side of our bank, so that we can let the water that's on the top side of this bank, it comes around and comes along, and then it flows through the gap. But then it's into the ditch, it's not just going to head straight down, because it's in the ditch, and then it's got to fill the ditch up all the way around until the ditch is full, and then it flows over. So that's how we get our spreading, is by putting in a ditch that's on contour, and then it getting full. When it's full, then it spills over all of the country that we've got here. So why I started at this ditch is because that's water we're getting for free, right? Our neighbours giving us water coming through that fence. So then we're able to take that water, and rather than it just run down the gully and disappear out the end of the farm, we're taking it and we're putting it out here and spreading it out over our country. Now what we're going to do in a minute is we'll drive up and we'll move around, and we'll show you where the water would have been had we let it on its own natural flow, but to where we've guided it and helped it to go, and the country that we're spreading it over. So are you understanding?
Yeah, no, I've got it now.
Because, so this is our water already, up on this side of the hill, off our farm, but we've got ground cover, so, but if we do get water, well, it comes down to this one, soaks in, feeds into it and down, whereas any water that was coming down here just wants to come straight down here and follow the line of least resistance and quickly end up on our neighbour's farm. And this stuff here, any water that runs off here can end up at Murray Bridge.
That's South Australia, right?
Yep. No point us giving our water to dairy farmers at Murray Bridge.
How wide is this?
It was something like 4 or 5 passes with a 16 grader to put it in. And just up there where the transition was from the bank being on the bottom side of the ditch to the top side of the ditch, that just happened pretty quickly. The grader, he's sending it out to the left for a bit, stops, backs up, changes his blade so that it sends it out to the right and then continues on. So the grader blade change only takes about that long. It would be flat out being 30 seconds. So it's not a big drama changing from top side to bottom side with your bank. So what do you reckon the ground cover here is, Tamsin? Percentage?
Yeah, about 90, 95.
Yeah, 90, 95. I might have come back to 85. There's a bit of a bare spot there, although even though there's not much plant there, there's clover burrs and ground cover there, and we're only seeing a couple of little rocks there, no dirt. So it's right up there. Now some of this is this yellow one here. That's the bogan flea. It's not very edible. The goats eat it a little bit, and it's one of the weedier species that we've got here that hangs around and persists. But it's here right now, and it's creating the ground cover, and we've got all this moisture under the ground. Yes, it is a good year. We've had regular rain, but we're just waiting for some. Like, we've got a full profile of moisture here heading into summer and full ground cover. It doesn't get much better than that. And like after 2016, the summer 2016, we had a reasonable mixed species stubble here, but the vermin came and cleaned a whole lot up. After 2016 summer, and especially the next sort of year, definitely the next year when we had that year of drought, this was just a desert. You couldn't believe this is the same paddock now.
So how many different species do you reckon, just eyeballing it, that we've got here?
Oh, well, just in our immediate vicinity, there's probably 15 or 20. But then when you look out and add it up over the whole paddock, we're on 40 or 50. Yeah, for sure. At the moment, this yellowbur is a bit dominant, but he's not taking up all the space. There's plenty of other grass in amongst that, and some of these summer active grasses, they're all getting to go now.
Do you know which one that one is?
No.
Because actually, yeah, when you take a closer look, it's doing quite well with grass.
So you can see all the winter active grasses, those winter active spear grasses and that, they're just finishing off there now because they've all set seed. And we haven't had much warm weather here yet, but some warm weather and the full profile of moisture, we're going to crack into the summer like nobody's business.
So what's he plan to do? Is he going to graze his sheep?
This has been grazed this year, somewhat, and obviously not overgrazed. So we're really trying to work on maintaining ground cover and grow stuff. And when we say we grow stuff, it's not just grass. And if we go back and have some of the stuff Jim Gerrish talks about, you out of all the growth that you've got in your paddock, 1/3 of it you use for your animal production. Another third of it is for the grass itself, or for the plants itself, so that you're not annihilating it, taking back to zero. And then his other third, he says, is for the biology in the soil. So you've got to get some recycling. That's another thing. That's when we understand that a big job that we've got in agriculture as the stewards of the land is we're to help nature's cycles. And recycling is a cycle. But then there's, we've got carbon cycle, water cycle, nutrient cycle, phosphorus cycle, nitrogen cycle. If we get ahead around all those cycles and how we can help them happen with our management, that's when we're going to start making some progress. Well, there's 7 or 8 different grasses just in the immediate vicinity here, so that's good diversity right there. We've come around the ditch a reasonable amount, probably about 400 metres. So we were pulled up back over there in the bottom of this gully here, not quite that one there. But that water was wanting to go down there and end up in that big gully and end up down there. So we've got water that would have, had we let it be, Mother Nature was up there. We've got it in this ditch here. So we've brought it all the way out here. So now when this ditch, and this is only halfway along, so when this water spills out of this ditch here, it gets to spill over to that country, and then then all of it repeats again when it happens at that next water spreading bank there, and then another one and another one. So we're about 3 water spreading banks up from where that water wanted to be now. So here we are. We've got water that wanted to be right down there in the valley. We've got it up here, ready to spill out over all of this country. We've come with this is our ditch over here. We've brought that water out of that ditch in that valley over there. We've brought it all the way around this slope, and that over there is our next valley going down there. So if there was excess water coming out of there, it would come down, and then not only is it spread into our valley, it spreads into the valley next door to it too. So when we look down that way, the water that we've got in this ditch here would have been all the way down the hill in those group of trees down there where that dam is. So we've kept this water up here, and that's still probably 6 or 8 metres higher than what it wanted to be. So we've kept it elevated in the landscape, and then that's going to spill out here and spill over all of this country going down there. So our irrigated strip might have been 50 metres wide down there, and when we do the maths on that for the distance, might have been 10 or 15 hectares or something where that water was spreading. We've taken that and we've spread that water here out over in a kilometre and a half. Now we're spreading that water over probably 60 or 70 or 80 hectares. So, and then that's why they're called water spreading banks. They're taking the water and they're keeping it, maintaining it in the landscape and keeping it spread out so that it doesn't get concentrated. There's 2 contributing factors to why water erodes, and that's velocity and concentration. So when water gets concentrated and has velocity, that's when it's most erosive. So what we're doing here is we're deconcentrating it because it was concentrated in that valley. So then we've spread it out, put it over a lot more country, and then every time with these water spreading banks as it goes down, we take the velocity off it all the time. And then with this fantastic ground cover that we've got in here now, that's all aiding water infiltration and the speed that it leaves our farm. If we can slow it down over the country, we get more water infiltration. And most of the time in Nyngan, our limiting factor is water. So we are avoiding letting all our water head off to Murray Bridge, and we're keeping it on farm so we can grow stuff and turn that into dollars. And our ecological outcomes here at the moment are fantastic. Yeah, like I said before, we've got some of this bogan flea or yellow burr here, but it's all being part of ground cover, and that'll be part of the discussion we've got to have, and we'll do that as a group. Darren and I will talk it over, and then I think we'll invite Shane and Paul into the conversation too, because this yellow burr is a hump for us, and we want to work out how we get over that hump and stay over the hump. But ground cover is definitely a big thing with the yellow burr. It's a pioneer species. If you want to get a paddock full of yellow burr, bear it up, race in there and hit it with a disc plough. You've got it just, in a heartbeat. But we're on the way with ground cover. We're still looking at 85, 90% ground cover here and across this whole paddock. It's pretty cool. It's the best ground cover I've seen here since we've been monitoring it, since we've been had the banks in and the fence around it. So if we want to add trees into our landscape now, we've had this amazing change, and with the on the top side of this bank in here, and if we want to plant trees in here, that's where we'll plant our trees, on the top side of that bank, because that country there has already started to be conditioned and regenerated because it's had extra water, and then the extra water grew the extra ground cover, and then get all the cycling things happening, and we're all on. So we absolutely would be able to establish trees along here in the toughest conditions, and that, I've been talking with these guys for a while about that sort of thing, and that's where we'll end up. So we've got options with what trees we grow there too. They don't have to be the regular old box trees that are growing on this country. We can grow trees that might be good for fence posts, or even there could be some fruit trees, and then we've got option with either Tagasasti or Lucina, which are fodder trees. And there's, the list, and only limited by the imagination. But are you getting it? That
I'm getting it. Yeah, now I've got a visual on it.
Where the water, you pointed out to me, where did the water want to be? Had it followed its natural course?
Well, in wherever the little divot.
In the bottom of the valley.
Valley, yeah.
And where is it now?
All the way round.
Here. Ready to spill out over there.